So it's 4 in the morning. I don't know if you can hear the crickets outside or whatnot. The sun should be coming up very soon. But I came across something very disturbing. Something that'll make you itch. Something that'll make you scratch. Bug chasers. I'm not talking about people who run around chasing millipedes and centipedes and ants and things like that. No, bug chasers. Bug chasers are people who go out and who deliberately go and try to get as many STDs as they can. It's like Pokemon Go, but for STDs. Okay, you got to catch them all. And so it's like I'm just look. Why would you want to burn? I don't get it. I think that some of these people, when I say some, I'm being very, very reserved here. I think that there's more than some who are suicidal, who want to self-inflict harm onto themselves by going out and chasing these bugs, okay? Chasing these STDs, these STIs are what they call them these days. Back when I was younger, they used to call them STDs. Now they call them STIs, sexually transmitted infections. And the thing is that STIs are a lot more common than people think they are. Thankfully, I haven't caught any, but I'm not just running around, just sleeping with people and all that kind of stuff. So I'm good. Like I'm proud of that, but here's the thing though, right? The thing is that I'm very, 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 very afraid of catching STIs. And I'm very educated on STIs and things like that, where it's like, I get it that the stuff is common, right? But it's just like you could avoid these things. Like you can wear, protection. Some STIs you can't protect from, like herpes, right? That's something that you can't protect yourself from, even if you wear a condom. But I mean, there's other things that you can do. So if anyone wants me to do a whole series on that type of stuff, I could do that too. But these bug chasers, I mean, apparently bug chasers aren't anything new. Because I seen the one video. In the one video, the father passed away because he was chasing STDs. He ended up catching herpes and he caught HIV, which then transcended into AIDS because it's HIV first. Then when your white blood cell count is very low, then it's AIDS, where that's when it becomes deadly, right? And so it was just it's very, very, very disturbing just hearing this stuff. It's like ain't no more Diddy parties no more. Ain't no more Diddy parties. It's like when you just, I don't know, when you just kind of see how people move out here, and then you just think about it, and it's like the people who are out here who are just slutting it up, these men, these women, these people, they had to have contact with somebody who got a lot of these things. I know it. Look, listen, I got a friend who slept with someone who had AIDS, but he didn't catch AIDS. He's like Mike Tyson. See, Mike Tyson's so damn scary. AIDS don't want to mess with him. Okay? Like he slept with someone who had AIDS, and then the two people from what I remember, he had the threesome, right? The person who had the female who had the AIDS, she passed away. The other guy who was in the threesome, he passed away too. Mike Tyson never got the AIDS. That's what happened to my boy, except for it wasn't a threesome, it was a twosome, okay? And that's back when I was only having handsomes because I am handsome, okay? I know that was a bad joke or whatever, but I'm tired as hell. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, so we're going to roll with it. Actually, yeah, because I was still a virgin back then. And then I lost my virginity to my then wife. Okay. So, yeah, because that happened before. Yep. Yep. Because when I left, yeah, yep. Yeah, that's right. So, anywho, yeah, he didn't get the AIDS because there's chances that you may not get the AIDS or whatever, right? But there's these people that are just going around chasing these bugs, like chasing these diseases, these infections, like chlamydia. There's a new one. It starts with a T. You have gonorrhea. You have genital warts. You have where you got your HPV, then you got your HSV, which is herpes simplex virus. You have one. You have type 2. It's just there's just so much stuff out here. You have your pubic lice, your crabs, right? Like your Dave Chappelle, we are crabs. We lay on bed sheets and toilet seats. We pinch your nuts with our feet. It's like you got crabs out here, right? You got HIV, AIDS, right? You got all kind of stuff out here, and you have hepatitis too. Because some have, there's some types of hepatitis that are actually sexually transmitted. So, all in all, there's a lot of STDs out here to get, and I'm sorry. I know, like, I'm older. I don't know if I look it. I grew me out a little goatee so I can look a little older too. But I'm a little older. I'll put it like that. I've been through everything you could think of in life already. Okay. The only thing I haven't done yet was die. All the big things that people can check off. Like, oh yeah, have you ever been through this? Yes, I have. Have you ever been through this? Yes, I have. I'm going to do some stuff right now. But I am glad as hell I haven't had no damn STDs. Because STDs, STIs, I get it. Like, I'm not, it's so common to the point where you don't want to make it seem like it's necessarily just like a taboo type of thing for someone to have it, right? Because that's not the case. But I do encourage people to utilize safer practices when they're having sexual intercourse, right? Like, some people, they'll wear a condom, right? But then, if they try and give some sucky or whatever, they ain't using no condom, right? And now people will say, oh yeah, well, condom here doesn't make sense, right? Okay, I get that. But why don't you just, like, this is my thing. It only takes go to the urgent care, okay? Get a full panel test. Make sure you get the herpes test too, because the herpes test is actually not included in it because it's so common, right? So you have to request that, all right? Now, go there, wait about 3 days. 3 days. Sometimes it takes longer, but wait about 3 days and they'll have you your results, okay? If you can't sustain from, licking something or sucking something without protection for about 3 days to a week, you may need to go get some help for your your sex addiction. You know what I mean? Because listen, I'm just saying, it's like a lot of things can be avoided. It's the things that can be avoided. It makes you think. Just like, for example, right? They have a drug called PrEP now, right? Where you can take it and then you don't have to worry about contracting HIV/AIDS. Now, that is genius, right? But but then again, there are like side effects to it and stuff like that. So I do understand why some people wouldn't want to put it in their bodies or whatever. But if you are being like promiscuous or whatnot, or just or even if you're just you're just a free spirit, right? Because sometimes you might not be promiscuous, but you might get some kind of randomly, right? you don't have to worry about catching that. And I think that that would give people so much peace of mind. But it makes you think too, is there a reason why the bug chasers have been kind of like resurrected into the spotlight at this point in time in history, right? Um, I feel as though by now we should have a cure for HIV, AIDS, herpes, um, even like general warts. We should have something that could eliminate those things at this point, even though we don't publicly. I feel as though we should have those things, right? But when it comes to pharma, it's a lot more lucrative to treat things versus cure things, right? And so my hope one day is that these things are cured, right? Because I've seen a lot of videos where, it was like reaction videos where there's like people just like, oh yeah, well, this person gave me this disease and they be giving them like HIV and stuff. Like it's nothing to joke at all. Like it's like some very serious stuff. And I feel bad for those people because sometimes it could be someone's first time, like literally, like just go ahead and Google it. Like Google I caught HIV my first time, and you will see a bunch of stories pop up, literally, right? And I feel so bad for these people because it's like at this point you're going to be traumatized by sex. You're going to be traumatized by sexual acts and stuff like that because your first experience led to something that was traumatic. Just like people who are molested and things like that. If your first sexual experience is an unpleasant one, then you're probably going to need therapy. You're going to need time. You're going to need a lot of things in order to approach or perceive that act as something, the act of sex, not the weird crap that the person did to them that they shouldn't have done to them, but just like sexual acts in general. Like you're not going to look at that stuff in a way that's normal, right? By the general consensus. And so you have these bug chasers. They go out, they're trying to find these STIs, these STDs, or they're sleeping with many people as possible. But then they're also contacting people who they know have these diseases, who know they have these infections, and they're asking them to gift them these things. And so because this is a public health crisis, I want to do my due diligence and, I'll probably do some videos on this, some reaction videos and all that kind of stuff. Also, I think, it'll be nice to, I'll probably, I don't know if this will catch on or not, but I will, post my clean results and all that kind of stuff online, just to kind of like encourage other people like, hey, look, let's, because I hear all these videos about people talking about these diseases and stuff they're catching. But I don't see a lot of, I haven't seen a video yet of someone being like, hey, here's all my clean results, right? That's something to be proud of, right? I've seen people do social media posts, but I haven't seen, and those are super rare, but I have not seen someone do a video like, okay, this is this. And, because I think because I have a background in public health, I think that it is important to shed light on these things because I don't want people to glorify catching diseases and things like that on purpose. Like, no, every day I try to make healthier choices and it's just like one of those things where it's like having that stuff in your body, it's not going to benefit you in any way, shape, or form, unless it's just something that I don't know, right? Because I don't know everything, right? But I would bet all the money in my pocket that it wouldn't benefit you, right? Or benefit anyone. But yeah, check it out. There's the bug chasers. They chasing these bugs. Like I said, they gotta catch them all. Hopefully Ash don't catch them. But we gotta do better, folks. We gotta do better out here. Um, I'm sorry. It's just in no world is that cool. I remember back in the day, people were like when I was in high school and stuff. I know that sounds kind of crazy to some of y'all, but back in the day, for me, is really like back in the day, right? So back in the day, I was a virgin, and everyone around me was at least claiming to have sex, right? There were some people who were virgins, but they were lying, right? They were lying their ass off, right? And they used to tease me. They used to tease me for being a virgin. But see, here's the thing: I was a virgin by choice. They weren't virgins by choice. They didn't have no damn choice. All right. So that's the thing that was weird to me. They're just like, well, why don't you do that? And I'm just like, well, it's a lot of things, right? Like, like for number one, the most important thing was I didn't believe in having sexual intercourse with someone who I wasn't willing to have a child with, because that was always a possibility, right? Like, it's like, if you know damn well you will not have a child with this person, right? Do not have sexual intercourse with this person, okay? Because if something goes wrong, then, you stuck for 18 years. 18 years? They say it got from 18 years. Yeah, 18 years is real, all right? Now, you can go get a vasectomy if you're a man. You go get your tubes tied if you're a woman. There's other things you could do. There's other methods and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I may do a video on it. I may do a whole series on it. But my point is that back then people were proud of being promiscuous, right? And so, I was in the out crowd, but then people always said, hey, well, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, right? But I think really, like, that's what they always want to say. But, it's like, hey, like, I'm in the in crowd. So I think sometimes, like, people, you just want to seem cool. But quite honestly, being sexually active ain't really nothing cool about it, right? Now, the active sex, if it's enjoyable for you, then that's enjoyable, right? But when you think about it, it's just like, okay, well, all right, there's somebody out there for everybody, right? Like, it's really not that impressive. But it's kind of like when you curse when you're a kid and you think it's cool, but you really sound dumb. That's how that is too. So I know I'm going off on a tangent, guys, and I know that I'm ranting a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about these bug chasers, and just to say that it's okay not to have a high body count. If you do have a high body count, that's okay too. As long as you're taking the proper measures to ensure that your sexual health and your health is not put at a high risk. Because a lot of people who they be like, oh yeah, they got all these bodies and all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of those people who actually practice safer sexual precautions than the people who aren't sleeping with as much people, right? Like people who are in the adult industry, they're getting these tests on a regular basis, and so, yeah, there's people, they do catch things and stuff like that because it's just kind of like a numbers game, outside of like, testing and, contraceptives, all that kind of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I think that, if you catch something, right, but you tried not to catch something, you did what you could do, okay? Because I'm not going to advocate, yeah, don't go out, just be abstinent for your whole life, right? Be asexual, you know what I mean? Or I'm not going to advocate, because realistically, people aren't going, people are going to be, people want to enjoy sex, right? So it is what it is. But I'll also say that, make sure that you do practice safe sex, and get tested regularly, and yeah, and watch out for these bug chasers, because that's scary. There's people who want to ruin other people's lives just because they got something. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you guys one more story before I go. So The college that I went to, that the young my boy, when he slept with a girl who had AIDS and he didn't catch it, it was at that same college, but before I got there, it was a few years before I got there, right? I think it even could have been 1 year before I got there. I just know it was like within like 3 years from when I got there. There was this young lady who showed up to the university, who was just spreading her legs left and right, left and right. And she didn't even go to the school, based off what I was told. And she had AIDS. And she was deliberately trying to go and infect as many people as possible at that university. And it was a HBCU, mind you. You know. And so, so I bring up that it was a HBCU because when I was speaking on it just now, I thought to myself, I'm like, well, what was this person's intentions? Like, I know what their intentions were with that, but where did that come from? Because, when I think of the university, I think about all the history that occurred there. It was a part of the Underground Railroad. There was, like that area. I think of like the Tuskegee experiments and things like that. Just this all kind of things. So I'm like, what if there was, a deeper, backing behind that, right? But me personally, my bet would be that it's just someone who caught AIDS, who was just angered by it and was just like, I'm going to give it to as many people as possible before I go, right, and ruin their lives, right? And that's the gift that keeps on giving, but that's not a gift. You know what I mean? That's not a gift. That's like a eviction notice of life. Like you get that notice, and you're like, wait, hold up. I got 3 months to live? What? It's like, that's not a gift. That's like a fine. You know what I mean? And so she was doing that, and she infected a lot of people. And, and I don't know if I think they caught her, I believe, but she's deceased now. But it was a big thing. There was a big spectacle behind it. And, and it's very unfortunate, but there are people like that. So you got to watch out. You got to make sure that, that when you meet people, you vet them. There's people that will lie to you. And there's some people that, they're just so free to hop in anybody's bed that you gotta just think deep before you leap. Think deep before you leap. But so I hope you guys have a great day, but definitely look into it. Look into the bug chasers and let me know what you think. Do you think this is something that's being pushed into the spotlight for, ulterior motives? Or do you think it's just something that is more so like organic, right? That for me, for example, I did my research, and this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. But it is kind of weird that it just kind of jumped back in the spotlight. But that happens with a lot of things, though, because I do hold a lot of information. I don't hold it from people, but I mean, like, there's stuff that I knew before there was YouTube and all that kind of stuff that's just popping up now. So quite honestly, because I'm always being honest, some things people are just not hip to. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on, but But I'm not really surprised because, I mean, there's people like when you know about things like what I just said, where there's a person going around a school giving people AIDS. I mean, when you think about it like that, you just think this is more so in a more organized way, a more orchestrated way where people will group together to do this stuff. But there's a very, very disturbing video that I would like to share with you guys. I know that sounds weird, but there's a disturbing video that I would like to share with you guys. So stay tuned for that. But this is the first video I'm making on these bug chasers. But you guys have a great day and get your raid. All right. Peace.